So this is our new segment on TYT called Con Jobs. It is to explain how so-called tax reform is actually tax cuts, and it's for multinational corporations. And it does not create jobs, it actually oftentimes kills jobs. Now, they will say that it creates jobs, both the Republican Party, some of the corporate Democrats, and a lot of the business leaders, but that is not how they actually act. So we are doing investigations to find out what they're actually doing. We have a whole new division of the Young Turks called TYT Investigates, and you should check them out, tytnetwork.com/investigates, and they bring you this story. We'll have the link to the story in the description box below, wherever you're watching. First, today is their first story in this series, and they talk about FedEx and UPS, which are actually among the top 10 companies in terms of number of employees in the world. So that's a big deal. And so if they are actually going to hire more people, wow, that would be news and that would be great. So first of all, they keep saying that, oh my God, taxes are way too high and that's why we're not able to hire people. Well, is that true? So we looked into that. Well, this is in the Obama years from 2008 to 2016. FedEx does not list its US employee numbers in its SEC filings, but in its report for fiscal year 2016, it reported 353,000 employees globally, up from 213,500 in the fiscal year 2008. UPS went from reporting 340,000 US employees in fiscal year 2008 to reporting 355,000 in fiscal year 2016. So FedEx added a ton of jobs, but we can't quite tell because of their filings if it's all in the US or mostly outside the country. But no question, they added jobs, they did not cut jobs. And the time that they were complaining about, oh, taxes are too high, we can't add any jobs. UPS clearly added jobs in that same time period. That's when they say taxes are too high, okay? So now, if taxes are too high and they don't have enough money to hire people, that's potentially possible, and almost everybody in TV dutifully reports that yes, of course, well, the taxes being high means you hire less people and vice versa. So is that true, that they didn't have enough money? Well, we looked into that as well. Steve Horn, by the way, writing this story for TYT. Neither company has claimed a lack of resources to hire new employees. At UPS, last year's dividend payments amounted to $2.8 billion. It had $3.546 billion in cash on hand and paid their CEO $13.7 million, according to a UPS proxy statement filed in March, up more than 20% from the previous year. FedEx paid their CEO $15.6 million in compensation in fiscal year 2017, according to a proxy filing submitted to the SEC this September. The company ended 2016 with $3.53 billion in cash on hand. It gave its shareholders $227 million in dividends both last year and in 2015. As Smith indicated to CNBC, that's their CEO, he expects to use his company's tax windfall to expand those payments. So now you can say, hey, listen, they want to give money back to the shareholders, fine, no problem, that's their decision to make. They want to give their CEO a $15 million salary, no problem, that's their decision to make. But don't pretend you don't have cash because taxes are too high, because you have billions of dollars of cash on hand that if you wanted to, you could hire a ton of people with right now. You're just choosing not to hire more people. So let's understand that. But they say, don't worry, you give me tax cuts and I'll finally let go of my ransom or my hostages, and I will use some of that cash, which I already have. I don't need the tax cuts for, I already have them, right? I will use it to hire people. In fact, let's go to the CEO's quotes so that you know what they're saying. David Abney is UPS's CEO. He says, it's not about, okay, corporations would like to pay less taxes. Oh, no. It's about growing the American economy, creating jobs, and giving us all a chance to be competitive. You see that David Abney doesn't care about his profits. He's just a humanitarian. He wants to create jobs and grow the economy overall. That's why he wants the tax cuts. We'll find out if that's true in a second. Then we go to Fred Smith. He is the CEO of FedEx. He says, it's got to be changed for the US competitiveness and to incent investment in the United States, because that's the only way you get blue collar wages up. Really? You're concerned about your workers' wages. You know, you have all that cash on hand, you could just increase their wages right now. Instead of giving it to yourself, you could increase their wages. Instead of giving it to your shareholders, you could increase their wages. Again, I'm not arguing with you, you can do those things, but then don't go on TV and tell me, oh golly gee, I can't raise wages until you lower taxes again. It's just not true. Smith also said, they both said it actually, in a letter that they wrote, an op-ed that they wrote to the Wall Street Journal. If you lower rates, eliminate loopholes, and otherwise simplify the tax code, you create opportunity for growth. Okay. All right, one last thing about what they say before we tell you what they actually do. Including in-house lobbying and work done by outside firms. FedEx has spent over $5.2 million on federal governmental lobbying in 2017, while UPS has spent nearly $4.3 million. Now we tell you that because they say that they're doing it for the good of all of America because they want to grow the economy, and for the good of their workers, they want to hire more people, increase their wages, etc. And that's why they're spending good lobbyist money to make sure that they look out for you, not them. No, it's not about them. Really, so what did we do? We went and found out what they were saying in earnings calls. This is when they have to be truthful, in SEC filings, when they have to be truthful. And sometimes not only truthful, but bragging to their shareholders about how much money they're gonna save them. So let's find out what they're actually doing. In the June FedEx earnings call, their chief financial officer and executive vice president, Alan Graf Jr., said FedEx Ground has made significant investments in capacity and automation and will continue to invest in the next fiscal year. He said the company expects to spend $5.9 billion next year on capital expenditures, including new planes and continued investments in FedEx Ground automation and capacity expansion. You know what automation means? That means instead of having humans do the jobs, manual labor, they are going to automate the process and cut your jobs. No, it's not they don't have enough money. They said it in their own earnings call. They've got $5.9 billion to spend. Do I begrudge them buying new planes and updating their facilities? No. Look, I'm not even going to get into a discussion about whether they should automate or not. Maybe because of competitive pressures, they feel that they need to, or just because they want to make their shareholders richer. I understand that. But don't pretend that you're going to add jobs when you're saying in an earnings call that your plan is to cut jobs, is to automate things so that you don't need humans anymore. That's not all, we've got more. Now we go to Henry Mayer, he's the FedEx Ground CEO and president. He says, we are making investments in material handling and lifting technologies to address that. We review hub designs over the normal course of business that account for package size. So that would divert packages, for instance, that we would have to handle manually today to a more automated mode. So there's FedEx bragging. We're gonna turn everything into automation, and you guys are gonna save a lot of money because we're not gonna have that many jobs anymore for actual humans. You do whatever you like for your business. I'm not running your business. But when it comes to policy that affects us all, and look, we gotta pay for everything anyway. It's not like that your taxes are getting cut by a lot. No, their taxes are getting cut by a lot, and what that does is it redistributes the tax burden. As I've shown you time and time again, companies used to make up more than a third of the taxes that were paid in 1952 in America. And how much the middle class paid was a lot less. Now, that's down to about 10, 11% that companies are paying. It's gone down by a third their tax burden relative to others. And what went up? The payroll tax. What that the middle class pays, the working poor pays. That has gone up tremendously over all these years. So they shifted the tax burden onto you. So you do whatever you want with your business, but when you go out in public and you lie about how you're gonna create jobs, well then we're gonna investigate and find out if that's true. And what we found out is that you are bragging internally about how you're gonna automate everything. I'm not done yet. Now we go to UPS. Myron Gray is the senior vice president and president of US operations for UPS. He says UPS is mid-process of a multi-year approach to our automation process, but they are giving us 20% to 25% greater productivity. Yay, machines are better than humans. So we're gonna cut, and he explains over the 3-year process. And by the way, you want all the details of this, please go read the entire article by Steve Horn. He did a great job here. in giving you all the details. One last quote from UPS. They say, in order to meet demand, we are increasing capital expenditures to expand network capacity and increase productivity by automating existing facilities. We are making strategic investments in our top 30 processing hubs, as well as adding new facilities to our network. And then they go on to brag. A UPS representative told industry publication Logistics Management in November 2016 that the equipment used at the Atlanta hub will serve as, quote, a showpiece for us with new automation systems. It's a showpiece. They're so proud of it. And what they want to do is, yes, they still need humans to drive the boxes to their facilities and to drive the boxes out. But once you get inside the facility, in their new showpiece, it's all automated. They've eliminated almost all the jobs in those new facilities. You want to do that to save costs? I understand. You're running a business. I'm not begrudging you that. A lot of people might begrudge you that. That's not the point I'm making. I'm just saying, please have the decency to not lie to us in public and tell us that you're going to use it to create jobs. No, you want to lower taxes so you can have more money for yourself, for the shareholders, for the executives. You're going to take it home. And if you do any investments, it's going to be abroad or in automation. We know because we asked you. We looked into your filings and your statements, and that is the reality of it. So when they go on these publicity tours, and UPS held one for Republicans in one of their showpiece centers where they later will automate, they pretended that, oh my God, we're going to create all these jobs. Look at us in a factory with all these humans walking around. Later they go and tell their shareholders, just kidding, we're going to try to cut all their jobs. But once we get the tax cuts, more money for all of us. That's the reality. So before your representatives go vote on those tax cuts, understand what they actually are. They aren't going to create any new jobs. They never have and they won't. It's just to make the already rich and powerful even more rich and powerful. That's their real purpose, but that's a little embarrassing. That's why they don't say that on TV. They pretend they're doing it for you. If you like this video, you probably like independent media. The best way to support independent media, become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.